comic book fans. This week on Comics Let's Talk, we're going to discuss the history of Marvel and DC crossovers. I'm your host, Kevin Gibbon. I review comic books and have columns on two sites, the Comics for Sinners website and the Comics Crusaders website. Check them out. Check out my reviews and check out my columns. If you like what you read, let me know in the comments section below. If you don't like it, let me know too. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like. My comic book reviews for Comic Crusaders and Comics for Sinners. And this is my co-host,
April Childers. Alright, before we begin, I just want to let you know that we aren't going to discuss team-ups with other companies like Dynamite or Boom because we don't have to.
Yes, everyone and their grandmother wants to team up with Batman, including Judge Dredd, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter.
What are you doing in Gotham?
I tracked Sebastian into your turn.
I know. Shameless self-promotion. Since two of DC's finest are featured in a recent issue of Lockjaw, this source we're going to use is from Screen Rant from Andrew Dice. Lockjaw may only be the mascot of Marvel's Inhumans, but he just made history by entering the DC Comics universe and came face to face with some of DC's most iconic superheroes, confirming once again that in the imagination of both Marvel and DC writers, the two biggest comic universes actually exist in one big multiverse. This meaning isn't one Superman will get either. Despite the failure of Marvel's Inhumans TV series, it's still likely that casual fans will recognize Lockjaw. That's the benefit of introducing a gigantic, telepathically gifted, teleporting bulldog into the MCU. The TV series did a good job of showing just how powerful Lockjaw's ability really is, granting him the power to teleport into and out of any physical location in Marvel's universe. And according to Lockjaw number 4, even hop over into DC's universe for a cameo or two.
The first time Marvel and DC officially teamed up was in 1975 for an adaptation of The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, in those days, they kind of had a friendlier rivalry. Today, of course, it would be difficult for the big two to team up given that Marvel is now owned by Disney and DC is owned by Time Warner.
But Disney could buy Time Warner since they just purchased Fox to bring the X-Men and Fantastic Four back into their collective universe.
The rights to Marvel's characters have been held by several different movie companies. They still have to give permission from Universal to use the Hulk and certain other characters.
And they had to cut a deal with Sony to bring Spider-Man into the MCU with Homecoming.
That's right, but Fox wouldn't play ball. So what did Disney do? They bought the company.
Didn't the big two always kind of poke fun at each other and give us thinly disguised versions of the other company's heroes?
Well, yeah, according to Wikipedia, writers during the 1960s and early 1970s sometimes engaged in a form of intercompany crossover with thinly disguised imitations of a competing company's characters, as opposed to parodies and satirical humor stories. In this way, Marvel's superhero team, the Avengers, made a version of DC's Justice League of America. Squadron Sinister, or the Squadron Supreme, as they've been called. That was in Avengers number 70, 85 through 86, and 147 through 148. Superman similarly met versions of Marvel's Fantastic Four, Spider-Man and the Submariner, which were called the Kooky Quartet, Cobweb Kid, and Submoron. That was in the Inferior 5, number 10, October 1968. Marvel returned the favor in their parody title, Not Brand Ek, with the origin of Superman. In the 1970s, the annual Rutland Halloween Parade in Rutland, Vermont was used as the setting of a number of superhero comic books published by both Marvel and DC. Costume parade attendees in these books were often depicted wearing the uniforms of characters from the other company. In the fall of 1972, writers Len Wein, Jerry Conway, and Steve Englehart crafted a metafictional unofficial intercompany crossover spanning titles from both major comic companies. Each comic featured Englehart, Conway, and Wein, as well as Wein's first wife, Glynis, interacting with Marvel or DC characters at the Rutland Halloween Parade. Beginning in Amazing Adventures number 16, the story continued in Justice League of America number 103 and concluded in Thor number 207. As Englehart explained in 2010, it certainly seemed like a radical concept and we knew that we had to be subtle, and each story had to stand on its own, but we really worked it out. It's really worthwhile to read those stories back to back to back. It didn't matter to us that one was DC and two were at Marvel. I think it was us being creative, thinking what would be really cool to do. Other issues featuring the parade included Batman number 237, DC Superstars number 18, Freedom Fighters number 6, The Avengers number 83 and number 119, also Marvel feature number 2.
In the early 1970s, author and literary agent David Obst suggested to Marvel publisher Stan Lee and DC editorial director Carmine Infantino that there should be a featured film crossover featuring Marvel's Spider-Man and DC's Superman characters. However, there was already a Superman movie planned by Warner Brothers and a Spider-Man TV series and movies. So instead, the two companies settled for an oversized comic book entitled Superman vs. the Amazing Spider-Man, The Battle of the Century. The comic was published in 1976. Superman rescues Metropolis from a giant robot attacked by his old foe Lex Luthor, who manages to send some sort of stolen device to one of his strongholds for safekeeping. Elsewhere in New York, Spider-Man battles and defeats his longtime foe, Dr. Octopus, and his henchmen. Sent to a federal super security prison designed for the incarceration of supervillains, Luthor and Dr. Octopus agree to combine forces in order to conquer the world and kill both of the men who put them behind bars.
And now we come to Batman versus the Incredible Hulk. Now this Treasury edition came out in 1981. Al Milgrom and Jim Shooter were the editors. The Incredible Hulk was on a highly successful TV series at the time starring Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. The last time Batman was in a live-action film around this time was NBC's TV 1979 Legends of the Superheroes, and Adam West along with Burt Ward played the dynamic duo, reprising the roles from the ABC TV series. The only other appearance from the Caped Crusader in 1981 was on Saturday morning cartoons like The Super Friends.
The Sharper Worlds was employed Joker to help him gather parts that are needed to repair himself. Unfortunately for the Joker, one of the labs he breaks into is owned by Bruce Wayne and employs a scientist by the name of Bruce Banner. During the robbery, Banner hulks out, and Batman finds that instead of the Joker, he now must stop the Green Goliath. Wanting to keep an eye on Banner, Wayne keeps him employed and does whatever he can to keep him calm. Unfortunately, the Joker tries once more to rob the place. This time when Bruce Banner becomes the Hulk, the Joker convinces him that Batman is his true enemy, and after all, they both have green hair. So, while the Hulk attacks Batman, the Joker gets away with what he came for. So, as a way to reward the Joker for his work, the Sharper Worlds gives the Joker a small portion of his power to bend reality to his whim.
The next time DC and Marvel paired up was to bring us Superman Spiderman number 2, an intercompany comic book jointly published by DC and Marvel in July of 1981. Number 28 and final in the Marvel Treasury Edition series. It is the spiritual sequel to 1976's Superman vs. the Amazing Spider-Man. Like the earlier Superman Spider-Man crossover, the issue is non-canonical, and it assumes that the heroes and their respective cities of residence, Metropolis and New York, exist in the same universe, with no explanation given as to why they had never before met or been mentioned in each other's individual stories. It also does not explicitly mention the events of the first crossover. Its publication history, Superman vs. the Amazing Spider-Man, was very much a collaboration between the two companies. This second Treasury-sized edition was largely the work of Marvel, DC's approval. The first team-up featured the hero's most popular enemies, Lex Luthor and Dr. Octopus. But with this story, writer Jim Shooter clearly sought plot convenience over rogues gallery prominence and chose Dr. Doom, more typically a Fantastic Four villain, though he'd occasionally battled Spider-Man and would do so in the future as well, from Marvel. And then the Parasite, a lesser-known Superman foe from DC. The comic also pits Superman against the Hulk for the first time, and Spider-Man against Wonder Woman. The book was officially co-written by Jim Shooter and Marv Wolfman, who at the time was writing the popular DC title The New Teen Titans. John Buscema penciled the story, and Joe Sinnott inked the main figures. The backgrounds were inked by a who's who of contemporary Marvel talent. The front cover was painted by Bob Larkin from a layout by John Romita Sr. Other features of the book included Superman and Spider-Man origins on the inside front cover, an earlier cover concept on the inside back cover, and house ads for both Marvel and DC. The story begins in Manhattan, where Spider-Man foils a bank robbery. Easily dispatching the criminals, his spider sense alerts him about a nearby construction site. The reader learns, however, that the site camouflages as an elaborate base of the Latvian monarch, Dr. Doom. Connected with a year-long plot of his, known as Project Omega, Doom initiates Omega by luring the Hulk to Superman's hometown of Metropolis using a special microtransmitter. Spider-Man's alter ego Peter Parker, assigned by the Daily Bugle to cover the Hulk's advance towards Metropolis. Parker arrives in Metropolis just in time to witness the confrontation between Superman and the Hulk. Parker changes into Spider-Man but is outclassed and unable to help. Battling the Hulk, Superman discovers the beacon and destroys it. Calming the Hulk and winning his trust, the Hulk reverts to his Bruce Banner form. But Doom's plan has worked. The damage Hulk caused released the parasite from a special underground cell. Star Labs takes custody of Banner, hoping to find a cure for his condition. Doom, monitoring everything, still needs Banner for his plan, and now he knows exactly where to find him.
And then came X-Men Teen Titans team up. From Wikipedia, in 1982, the Uncanny X-Men and the new Teen Titans shared similarities in addition to high popularity and strong sales. Both titles were helmed by respected established writers in Chris Claremont on the X-Men and Marv Wolfman with the Teen Titans. Given the success of each title, Marvel and DC recognized the sales potential of a jointly published crossover, with X-Men writer Chris Claremont scripting the story and Walt Simonson and Terry Austin providing the art. Len Wein, the editor of the new Teen Titans, acted as DC's liaison with Marvel on the project.
Seeking to co-opt the near limitless power of the Source, the evil space tyrant Darkseid continues his efforts to break through the Source wall, which is depicted as a physical wall for the very first time in the story. Thinking that the energy associated with the Phoenix Force can help him penetrate, Darkseid sets into motion a plan to recreate the Dark Phoenix by tapping into the memories of their former teammates, the X-Men, as well as drawing the residue of her power from a variety of sources, and then amplifying that residue using energy streaming from the rupture of the Source wall. With his help, Metron has pierced the wall, and his sacrifice affected a small rupture which bled a steady stream of energy. Starfire, who has knowledge of Dark Phoenix's immense destructive power. Despite their best efforts, each team is defeated and captured by Deathstroke, the Terminator, and Darkseid's stock troops. Darkseid brings the Dark Phoenix back to life. Both super teams work together, freeing themselves and defeating their enemies into a climatic battle.
So DC and Marvel were on a roll, right? They would bring us 2 or 3 team-ups a year from now on. With their highly successful and well-regarded team-ups under their belt, they were bridging the gap between their respective fans, letting us know that it's okay to read both companies' comics. Their rivalries would be friendly, and a Justice League Avengers crossover was just around the corner. Then their universes would coexist in peace and harmony and live happily ever after. No. Again, according to Wikipedia, despite the success of the project, the Uncanny X-Men and the new Teen Titans represented the last new DC Marvel Intercompany crossover for over a decade.
Wow.
A planned X-Men Teen Titans #2 by the Titans creative team of Marv Wolfman and George Perez was scheduled for publication near Christmas 1983. X-Men writer Claremont had shared details of future X-Men storylines with Wolfman to facilitate Wolfman's writing of the script. Perez was slated to draw the much-anticipated JLA Avengers Intercompany crossover, due for publication in 1984, which was eventually scuttled due to editorial squabbling between the two companies. Continuing disagreements between Marvel and DC and Perez's anger over the demise of the JLA Avengers book resulted in the eventual cancellation of X-Men Teen Titans #2. Unlike the JLA Avengers, a good portion of which had already been drawn by Perez, no artwork was ever drawn for the Uncanny X-Men and the new Teen Titans sequel. It wouldn't be until 1994's Batman Punisher Lake of Fire that DC and Marvel joined forces again in a publishing venture. Listed as being one of the stories that happened on Crossover Earth in the online companion to the all-new official handbook of the Marvel Universe. The first 2 Batman and Punisher crossovers, published for 1994, though crossovers tend to be non-canonical, Batman number 509 has Jean Paul mention Jigsaw by name. This is probably due to the fact that Jean Paul was growing more and more insane and actually believes he fought the criminal. Thus, they were allowed to get away with it.
Punisher's arch-enemy, Jigsaw, has moved to Gotham City, picked up a construction company from a recently disposed mob boss, and is setting up a major extortion scheme involving stolen rocket fuel and a plan to burn Gotham's water reservoir. Punisher is in town to track him down, and Batman. It's important to note that this isn't the Bruce Wayne version of Batman, as he was recuperating from Bane having broken his back at the time. This is Jean-Paul Valley, who is also following the case, although he is unaware of Jigsaw's involvement. Following the same trial via different leads, both heroes arrive at an old church. It had been set up to trap Punisher in a fire, and Batman saves his life.
Now we come to Punisher Batman Deadly Nights. The script was by Chuck Dixon, pencils John Romita Jr., and inks are by Klaus Janson. The events of this crossover are referenced in Nightwing, Volume 2, number 44, which has Dick Grayson mentioned that a Vice Lord, Jimmy Navarone, was axed by some out-of-town psycho-vigilante. The Pulverizer, the Penetrator, I forget.
Taking a few months after Batman/Punisher light a fire, Punisher finds himself back in Gotham, much to his displeasure, and in a firefight with local street thugs while Commissioner Gordon and company watch and wait from afar. Punisher whittles down the thugs until he has one left to interrogate. He is looking for Jigsaw. Batman, too, is watching from a distance, but he finally decides to act before the Punisher destroys everything and everyone. Batman attacks Punisher, allowing the thug to get away. Batman knows a bit about the Punisher from a distance, since Jean-Paul was wearing the mantle the last time Punisher came to Gotham. But Punisher does not know he is facing a different person under the cowl, thinking that Batman is truly a schizophrenic who changes his fight styles and personalities easily.
Now here comes a good one, the 1995 Galactus Darkseid from Comic Vine DC Database. Darkseid is an evil ruler of the fiery planet Apocalypse. He is an extra-dimensional being, a part of the self-proclaimed new gods who draw their power from another dimension. He has superhuman abilities and control of the Omega Effect, which allows him to project eye beams that can not only incinerate or teleport, but can also turn at right angles to catch their opponent. The Omega beams, sometimes called Omega Sanction, lock onto the target's soul, preventing it from escaping. Wonder Woman's bracelets, along with Superman and Doomsday, are some of the only things to withstand a blast of his Omega beams. Darkseid has a large set of other powers that make him nearly omnipotent. Darkseid is said to be hundreds of thousands of years old. Though Apocalypse lives outside the normal boundaries of time and space in the DC universe, Apocalypse and the New Gods live across the DC multiverse. Darkseid also has a whole army of other new gods with the same attributes as this, except for they make beams, that he can call on for assistance. Set prior to his first appearance, the Silver Surfer arrives on Apocalypse, which he sees as fit for the Master's consumption. Despite the efforts of Darkseid's parademons, the Herald signals the World Devourer. On New Genesis, Orion is not content to sit idly by while Apocalypse is destroyed, and so he flies into battle with the Silver Surfer, while Darkseid confronts Galactus for the fate of the world.
Written and illustrated by John Byrne, 1995 Green Lantern/Silver Surfer, Comic Vine. Thanos has come to the DC universe as he has built a weapon, and only the last Green Lantern's ring can activate it. In testing a rift between the two universes, Thanos pulls the cyborg Superman into the Marvel universe and sends Tesseract the Tamer into the DC one. Meanwhile, Parallax has traveled to the Marvel U to pursue Cyborg and runs into the Silver Surfer in combat with him. Thanos saves Kyle Rayner, the Green Lantern, from Tesseract and convinces him to aid him in stopping Parallax from destroying both universes. It is not until after he has gained the power of a destroyed Oa that Thanos reveals his true plan, to destroy our creation and be with his love, Lady Death. Parallax convinces the Surfer to give him the power cosmic to stop Thanos. In the end, and it takes the combined efforts of the Green Lantern and Silver Surfer to defeat the two mad villains. The box in the alley at the end of this issue plays an important role in the DC vs. Marvel Limited series.
And now we come to Spider-Man Batman, Disordered Minds. The Joker and Carnage meet when behavioral psychiatrist Cassandra Breyer attempts to use the two killers as tests for a chip that will lobotomize their homicidal instincts. The Carnage symbiote neutralizes Cassidy's chip after it is implanted, with Cassidy pretending the chip worked so that he could meet the Joker. After Carnage removes Joker's chip, the two mutual psychoses lead them into a brief alliance before their differing methods of murder cause a clash. The Joker tries to kill Carnage with a bomb, but Carnage drapes a piece of symbiote over a corpse to fake his death. Batman and Spider-Man uncover the trick, and Batman is subsequently engulfed in Carnage's symbiote in tendrils. Carnage proposes to kill Batman, but the Joker threatens to set off a bomb to destroy Gotham himself. And Carnage, rather than see Carnage kill Batman, as Batman battles Carnage, Spider-Man follows the Joker. The Joker defiantly dares Spider-Man to kill him, however, and Spider-Man is unable to stoop to his level, electing instead to apprehend the Joker in classic hero style. From TV tropes, it's a big bad ensemble, Carnage and the Joker. They briefly try for a villain team-up, but they're radically different styles of villainy. Carnage prefers to just kill, Joker prefers theatrics, mean they end up butting heads fast and pursuing their own goals separately. And there's a continuity nod. Carnage lays a trap for the Joker by faking his own death using a corpse that he's covered in a replica of his suit. But Spider-Man and Batman ruin the surprise by bringing up how Cletus tried pulling the same stunt in the Maximum Carnage affair. DC vs. Marvel has the Joker bump into the new Spider-Man, Ben Reilly, mistaking him for the original. Joker notes that he's changed tailors since last we tangoed. And then the curb stomp battle. The Joker was able to give Carnage the runaround, but he's still a baseline human who, upon being cornered by Spider-Man, gets taken out by a single cold punch. And now we come to the big one, the Marvel vs. DC title. Two godly brothers who personify the DC and Marvel universes become aware of each other's existence and challenge one another to a series of duels involving each universe's prospective heroes. The losing universe would cease to exist. The story had an out-of-universe component in that the outcomes of primary battles were determined by readers voting. Numerous smaller story-driven skirmishes occur throughout the series, not counted with the primary duels meant to determine the outcome between the brothers. There were 11 battles fought between the two universes. Aquaman versus Namor. Aquaman wins by summoning a whale to leap out of the water and land on Namor. Since Namor is pinned and unable to move, he is declared the loser. Elektra versus Catwoman. Elektra won by cutting off Catwoman's whip as she hung from a girder on a building under construction. But Catwoman survived by falling into a dumpster filled with sand. Flash versus Quicksilver. The Flash wins using superior speed. Robin versus Jubilee. Robin won by using his cape as a decoy, then tying up Jubilee. Silver Surfer versus Green Lantern. Silver Surfer won when both collided with each other and released a huge explosion which knocked out Green Lantern but left Silver Surfer unfazed. Thor versus Captain Marvel. Thor won when Captain Marvel was forced to change back to his alter ego, Billy. Billy tried to change back, but Thor used Mjolnir to intercept the lightning bolt that would have transformed him back to normal, the resulting impact knocking Billy out and sending Thor's hammer flying off. Superman versus the Hulk. After exchanging punches and a burst of heat vision, Superman wins eventually. Spider-Man versus Superboy. With the advantage of his spider sense, Spider-Man wins by tying up Superboy with impact webbing and electrocuting him with high voltage. Batman versus Captain America. The match ends in uncertainty, though both are evenly matched after hours of combat. A sudden flushing of the sewers knocks Cap off balance as Batman manages to strike him down with a batarang. Batman rescues Cap from certain death via drowning, but Cap's unconsciousness from nearly drowning causes him to lose. Wolverine versus Lobo. Wolverine beats Lobo in a brutal bar fight, which was largely off-panel. Storm versus Wonder Woman. After Diana drops Thor's hammer in order to allow the fight to happen as it was intended, Storm wins the battle after repeatedly hitting Diana with her lightning after a brief melee encounter. Although the fight ends with the apparent victory of Marvel, the new entity of Access, a being capable of transversing the two universes, infuses Batman and Captain America with fragments of the true universes before the Spectre and the Living Tribunal attempt to create a compromise by fusing the two universes together. This resulted in the publication of the 12-issue Amalgam Universe, which sees various amalgamated versions of the heroes and villains acting as though they have been in existence for years. As the brothers engage in direct battle, the Spectre and the Living Tribunal attempt to stop the conflict, but Batman and Captain America convince Access to take them to the conflict as well. Witnessing the minds of Batman and Captain America as they try to stop the fight, the brothers realize that the two men are essentially the brothers in miniature, each one unique among their world, but with no interest in the conflict that the brothers have engaged in. Acknowledging the pointlessness of their conflict, the brothers withdraw. In 1996, we come to Superman Silver Surfer. This is from John Lindsay on Amazon. Great fun. The Man of Steel and Silver Surfer find themselves in strange parts of the universe as Supes on Krypton and Silver Surfer in Metropolis. It seems the cause of this is done by the shape-shifting trickster enemy of Silver Surfer, known as Impossible Man, who has done this to Superman as one of Superman's enemies known as Mxyzptlk has trapped Silver Surfer in a miniature version of Metropolis, which he has done himself. Mxyzptlk and the Impossible Man begin a battle of the shape-shifting magical space beings. But can Silver Surfer and Superman stop this to restore order to both places? One of the most fun crossovers around. It's such a fantastic read for fans of both DC and Marvel like myself. The writing by George Perez is witty and very well done. Ron Lim's artwork is just brilliant here, as the coloring and inking as well. I think this one is just a plain fun story to see two similar alien heroes interacting with each other as a team. Also in 1996, we see Captain America and Batman. From the DC database, Captain America and Bucky are ordered stateside for a secret mission, where they encounter Batman and Robin. The Gotham Project has been discovered, and it's up to the two teams to stop the plans of the Joker and the Red Skull. The Crisis on Infinite Earths. The compendium denotes this issue as the first appearance of Earth 3839. Then we come to 1997's Daredevil Batman, Eye for an Eye. In this story, Daredevil and Batman must work together to defeat Two-Face, partnered with Marvel villain Mr. Hyde for the purpose of using Hyde as an incubator to grow an organic microchip, giving Hyde drugs to speed up the process, regardless of the fact that this would kill him. It is also revealed in this book that Harvey Dent had once been friends with Matt Murdock, who is secretly Daredevil. Prior to his disfigurement, Dent believed in giving criminals a chance at rehabilitation, while Murdock believed in final justice. Having reversed his outlook to what Dent had once believed, Murdock talks Two-Face out of killing Hyde without Two-Face using his coin. Two-Face, however, insists that the act is merely the last of Harvey Dent. From the Marvel database, it's Billy Club versus Batarang when Daredevil meets the Dark Knight. When you think about it, Daredevil and Batman have a lot in common. Both lost their parents at a young age, both prowl urban jungles, and both strike fear in the hearts of superstitious and cowardly criminals. In fact, some people might think that Matt Murdock should have been Batman since he's, blind as a bat. Anyway, now we come to another Batman Spider-Man team-up, New Age Dawning. Ra's al Ghul begins plans for worldwide devastation. He manipulates the Kingpin to his side by infecting the crime lord's wife, Vanessa Fisk, with cancer and promising him the cure in return for his allegiance. Ra's then orders him to press the button on his machines, which would send New York City under the ocean. Ultimately, Spider-Man and Batman interfere, and the Kingpin reveals that he knows Ra's plan and allows the two heroes to board his plane so they can assist him. 1999 brings us Superman versus the Incredible Hulk from the Marvel database. Synopsis for Double Lives. In her apartment, Lois Lane is watching a news broadcast about the Hulk. Her husband, Superman, comes home through the window and tells her about the eventful day. Superman remembers his first encounter with Bruce Banner and says he wishes he could have done more for the man. He realizes how similar he and Bruce are and begins to recount his first encounter with the Hulk to Lois. In his secret cave, Bruce wakes up from a nightmare and Rick Jones runs in and tells him it's all right. Bruce suddenly turns into the Hulk and lumbers out of the cave into the sunlight. Superman jumps down to face Hulk, trying to talk, but Hulk, unprovoked, attacks him. Superman dodges the Hulk's blow, but Hulk throws him through the store. Superman quickly recovers and flies up and wraps his arms around the Hulk. Hulk breaks free of his hold and knocks him into the orbit. Superman flies back down to the store and finds all the civilians recovering, and the Hulk is nowhere to be found. And let's take a look at this issue. Some continuity notes. This version of Hulk originally first met and fought Superman in Marvel Treasury Edition number 28, and in that encounter, Superman appeared to be much stronger than the Hulk. However, their first meeting was apparently retconned as of this issue. The solicit synopsis. It's the first ever book-length battle that the fans demanded as the most powerful icons in all of comicdom take each other on in all-out war. Now we come to 1999's Superman and Fantastic Four. From the DC database, a mysterious object lands in the middle of Metropolis in which the MSCU is sent to examine it. Superman soon arrives on the scene and finds out that the device is a nuclear bomb and it is counting down. Superman promptly disables the countdown timer, but he then detects that someone is trying to detonate it with a backup device. Before Superman could go after the bombers, an alien crystal appears, and it projects an image of Superman's father, Jor-El. Jor-El tells Superman that the real cause of Krypton's destruction was at the hands of the cosmic being Galactus. The next Marvel DC team-up was Batman, Daredevil, King of New York. What threat could force the Kingpin to work with his sworn foe? None other than Gotham City's master of fear, the Scarecrow. Written by Alan Grant, with art and cover by Eduardo Barrito, this opens with a seemingly simple heist engineered by the Catwoman, a robbery that gives the Kingpin the weapon he needs to spread fear and anarchy throughout New York, with just a little help from the Scarecrow. But when the Scarecrow double-crosses the Kingpin, threatening his reign over Big Apple's underworld, the crime lord has no choice but to join forces with Daredevil and Batman as they fight to save the city from slipping into fear-induced madness. But what terrors must all three men overcome to defeat a foe who can instill fear in anyone, even the man without fear? And finally, after many, many years, they finally released the Justice League Avengers team-up in 2003. In 1979, DC and Marvel agreed to co-publish a crossover series involving the two teams, to be written by Jerry Conway and drawn by George Perez. The plot of the original crossover was a time travel story involving Marvel's Kang the Conqueror and DC's Lord of Time. Writer-editor Roy Thomas was hired to script the book based on Conway's plot, and although work had begun on the series in 1981 and it was scheduled for publication in May of 1983, editorial disputes, reportedly instigated by Marvel editor-in-chief Jim Shooter, and go and figure, prevented the story from being completed. The failure of the JLA Avengers book also caused the cancellation of a planned sequel to the 1982 Uncanny X-Men and New Teen Titans crossover. An agreement was reached between the two companies in 2002 with a new story to be written by Kurt Busiek and drawn by George Perez. In a joint panel at WonderCon 2000, Busiek, then writer of the Avengers title, and Mark Waid, then writer of the JLA title, stated that they had nearly come to an agreement to begin the crossover within the regular issues of the respective titles. But the two companies could not come to a business arrangement. When the series was approved, however, Waid was unavailable due to an exclusive commitment with the company CrossGen, and Busiek became the sole writer on the project. Perez also had an exclusive commitment with CrossGen, but had a clause written into this contract allowing him to do the series if and when it was approved. The series was reprinted by DC Comics in 2004, the two-volume collector's edition hardcover, which included for the first time the original 1983 Perez penciled pages, and then re-released as a trade paperback in November 2008. As of 2018, it is the most recent crossover between DC and Marvel. The Grandmaster informs the Justice League that to save the universe, they have to gather 12 items of power, 6 from each universe, while his ally, Metron, tells the Avengers that they have to stop the League to prevent the world from being destroyed. The 6 items from the DC universe are the Spear of Destiny, the Book of Eternity, the Orb of Ra, the Psycho Pirate's Medusa Mask, the Bell, Jar, and Wheel of the Demons 3, and the Green Lantern Power Battery of Kyle Rayner. The 6 items from the Marvel universe are the Ultimate Nullifier, the Evil Eye of Avalon, the Wand of Watum, the Casket of Ancient Winters, the Cosmic Cube, and the Infinity Gauntlet. The Justice League travels to the Marvel Universe and are dismayed, especially Superman, by the Avengers' failure to improve their Earth's condition. When the Avengers visit the DC Universe, they are surprised by the futurist architecture of its Earth cities and the honors that the Justice League and other native heroes receive for their deeds. As a result, they, mainly Captain America, become convinced that the Leaguers are fascists who demand that civilians worship them. Various Leaguers and Avengers travel across the two universes and fight each other to retrieve the artifacts of power. And that, to date, is the final official team-up of the Marvel and DC universes.
I also have my own franchise now. It's Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter. The first novel was Last Rites, The Return of Sebastian Vasilis. It has been adapted into comic book format and can be found on Indie Planet along with all the other Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter comic books. It's also being made into a movie out of Lakeland, Florida through Crisp Filmworks. Check out the Facebook page, Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter. Also, Last Rites, The Return of Sebastian Bacillus. If you like what you see and want to stay up to date, just click like on both pages. There are many other comic books available on Indie Planet and Drive-Thru Comic Books of the Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise. The latest comic book is Dracula Rising. We're on issue 2. Issue 1 was drawn by Dennis Magnet, who since had to move on to other projects. So my new artist is Rodolfo Ezequiel. Going to show you some panels from his artwork right now. Rodolfo is an excellent artist, and these are panels that he has drawn for the Dracula Rising #2 issue. There's also an animated trailer out. Let's take a look at a little bit of the animated trailer.
Who are you?
Your worst nightmare.
I think you dropped these.
Thanks.
You're not very good at this, are you?
I'm Carl Vincent.
Another vampire hunter wannabe. Do you know how many of you that I've killed? You can't leave yet. The party's just begun.
I hope to use this trailer to sell the project to maybe Adult Swim or Cartoon Network or something like that. And that was our show for this week. I'm Kevin Gibbon.
And I'm April Childers.
Together we say, keep reading those comics.